can you do? I am going to teach you guys some art this week. I'm going to do some little lessons that you can tune into when you have time. I'm just going to post the videos, and then that way you can pause it and go along with it as you can. The first one that I'm going to do is this sort of three-dimensional looking star. It's not that hard. It looks pretty cool, and sometimes it looks a little bit complicated. It's important to just kind of take it slow. All you need for this project to begin with is a pencil that will stay pretty sharp, an eraser if you need one, and a ruler. I'm using a piece of copy paper for this one that I'm going to do with you right now. This is going to be kind of the final end product. But to begin with, what I want you to do is take your piece of paper, set it out in front of you, and spread your ruler straight across the horizontal, so it should be going wide across in front of you. And I want you to mark out, if I have my ruler set up so that the 0 is at one edge, goes up to 11, I'm going to make a mark from probably about 3.5, make a little dot. And I'm going to go over to about 7.5, and I'm going to make a little dot. And then I'm going to make a mark that goes directly in between those. I just need a straight line. Out around those dots, out around that line, I'm going to make some little marks. You can hear my puppies in the background. They're not puppies. They're really big, rather loud dogs, and they don't like listening to me talk to someone other than them. But I'm going to make some little dots. I'm going to make one here, here. I like making probably around 17 or 18 dots. I make them on either side of my horizontal line. And then, once I've got some made, the only thing I don't do is I don't do any that are right almost in line with the line. They need to be above or below, but not in the same plane as that line. Once I have those dots in place, I can take my ruler and I can connect this dot to that one and then to this one. I'm always making a triangle, and that first horizontal line is always a part of my triangle every single time. This horizontal line is a part of my base triangle. So each dot that I've made out here, I'm going to connect back in to the first two dots. So I'm going to connect, move my ruler, and connect. Each and every time. I connect, and I connect. Some of my dots may end up, some of my lines may end up overlapping for part of it. That's okay. That's going to be part of it. We're breaking up this space into a lot of different areas. And so we're going to end up with a lot of different areas that we can either color with pattern or with colors, changing it up so that it gives us a lot of different ideas, different things that we can keep ourselves busy with over the next couple of weeks. Being creative and doing art projects is a really good way to spend your time when you've got a lot of extra time that you don't normally have, especially when it's kind of rainy out and it gets a little tricky to be super active, as I know it's important for you guys to be active. It's important for me to be active too. So I'm trying to find stuff to do, but it gets tricky. Each and every dot are connecting back. So I've done the bottom side. Now I'm going to go up and I'm going to do the top side. And for me, it's easier if my ruler is on the bottom edge. So I'm going to keep it going that way. I just turn my paper around. I like mechanical pencils because it's easier to keep the point sharp. So if you have some around, that might be a little bit easier for you for some of these projects. It's not really super important. It just makes things a little bit easier sometimes to have something that works a little better at keeping a nice sharp point. All right, I didn't do 17 dots. That's what I usually do when I do this project in class with the 5th graders. But we've got enough to get us going. So once I have all of my dots connected, and you noticed, I hope, that every single dot on the outer part connected to the 2 dots that make up that original line, that first flat line. Everything connects back to it, making lots of different kinds of triangles. Once we have that in place, then we can start thinking about how we're going to fill it in. What are we going to use to fill in all of these little spaces? And you get to decide, and it's kind of for 5th graders, when I do this at school, we do pattern. So they're only allowed to choose, I think, 3 colors usually, and they have to come up with lots and lots of patterns to fill each one in. So I think I need one more dot maybe over here. I'm going to do one more. So when you have decided what you're going to do, you could do colored pencil, you could do markers. Markers get a little bit messy sometimes in some of these little tiny spaces. It gets a little bit tricky. But once you've decided what you're going to do, you can go through and you can start making patterns. Or you can color solids. So if I were to color in with pattern, I'm going to get my colored pencils, which I have put away somewhere out of my way. Here we go. I can use these. Oh, these are woodless color pencils. So they're just regular color pencils. They just don't have the wood on them. I have a lot of different kinds of art supplies at home because I like to try different things all the time. So here I have a light blue. I'm going to choose light blue, orange, and maybe a brown. I think that would be good today. So I'm just going to use 3. That doesn't mean you can only use 3. You can do more than that if you want to. But I'm going to choose different kinds of patterns. So maybe in this spot out here, I could do some brown polka dots. And then maybe I'll take my orange this time. And I'll color in around all of those polka dots. Now when I'm coloring in, I want to keep it inside my line, so I got to really think about being careful out here at the edges. So I'm coloring inside my lines right up to the point. And this actually would be a pattern if I wanted it to. I could have polka dots that have brown polka dots that have an orange border. Or I could, as I said earlier, go in and color in all around my polka dots. I'm trying to color as much in the same direction as I can. This is a good time for you guys to be working on all of those kinds of things where you're always working on developing those skills of smooth, even, neat work where things are going together in one direction. It is kind of fun to see how things would change if you were to do it a little bit differently. What would happen if you suddenly change directions? After I get this orange in here, I'm going to go back in on top of all those brown polka dots to make them stand out a little bit more. They're almost the same value. If you guys remember, value means light or dark. when it refers to color. So the value scale is how light something is or how dark something is. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to make all of those browns a little bit darker by just coloring on top of them. Then I could do the same thing again in another triangle space, and they're not all triangles anymore because we've broken them up into so many different things by crossing our lines over so many different shapes by crossing our lines over. But I could do the same kind of thing maybe over here where it's a little bit smaller this time. I'll do blue polka dots, and then I'll color around those blue polka dots with my orange again. I could also just color orange first and then do the dots on top because the orange is pretty light. So again, I'm going to kind of color around my edges, give myself that little bit of a buffer zone to help me remember to stop before I accidentally go outside of my lines. And then I can color in and around all of my blue polka dots with my orange. Now, again, you do not have to stick with just 3 colors. You don't have to use the 3 colors that I am using. You can choose your own. You can do each and every color a different one. You can color them in solid. You can let your colors overlap from one to the next. So I could continue that blue and orange all the way down to this point if I wanted to. It's kind of up to you, but this is just kind of a fun little thing to keep you busy, to keep your mind engaged in how you're working your pattern, what you're doing. Other patterns that could be kind of fun would be to do something that's, instead of polka dots, I could do a series of stripes. I could do a whole bunch of stripes. So I'm going through, I'm putting in some blue stripes. Always stopping at my line, trying to make sure I always get all the way to my line. Then I could go across. I could do it in a different direction now. I've got orange. That one needs to go all the way over, all the way over, all the way over. And then if I wanted to, I could go in and I could put little brown polka dots in, or I could put brown stripes in. I could layer that. It kind of starts to look like a plaid when I've got this going like this. So now I've put my brown in between the blue, and it crosses over the orange. So there's lots and lots of different things that you can do. You could do swirls, and then inside those little loopies I could color those a different color, or I could keep them the same color. This is one of those activities that just doesn't end, because you can always do more on it. The main thing is to be patient with yourself, to be patient with those around you as they're trying to figure out what you're doing or what they need to get for you to help you with this. But the nice thing about this one is there are absolutely no mistakes at all. Anything that you do, if you have a line that goes off, you can either make that be a part of your pattern, or you can choose to erase it. I try to get you guys to not worry too much about erasing. I'd like for you to spend more time on creating and less time on erasing. But I know that some of you guys are really, really focused on getting things just the way you want it, and I totally understand that. I like this one because it helps us to remember to be a little bit loose. We get to be nice and tight and really think about our lines, and then when we get to our coloring and our pattern, it's a lot easier to be looser. See, I should have colored first, because the orange kind of dulled that blue. And if you remember, orange and blue are complementary colors, which makes a gray when you mix them, and that's kind of what has happened. It's kind of made an orange, grayish brown kind of color. So I could fill in the whole entire thing. You guys don't really want to sit here and watch me fill it all in. I want you guys to have time. I want you to get your coloring in. Think about your creativity. What can you do? And maybe I will post a picture of mine when I finish it later, and I would love to see pictures of what you guys have done. So if your parents will let you take a picture of you with it, or if they will just take a picture of you and you can put your name on it. I'll put my name on here. Or you don't have to put your name on it, but you can put your name on there. You can finish this up and then post it for the rest of us to see what you have done. All right, have a good week this week. Talk to you later.